Welcome to Brainworms and Tangents. My name is Pamela.
And I'm Carissa.
And we are two 20-somethings with ADHD on a quest to chase our impulsive ideas we can't shake. This is a self-growth podcast that is all about becoming who you want to be, one brainworm at a time.
So today, our brainworm is all about the analog bag, which is a last year trend that I think is really ramping up because of the summer. It started by this content creator named Cease Campbell, and the whole premise is getting a bag of things that are not digital as a way to keep you off your phone.
Yeah, I have been seeing analog things everywhere. It's become quite a trend. And I think I talked about this in our last episode where we talked about digital detox and going analog. It's sometimes hard to believe that we're actually going offline because we're hearing so much about it online.
It's quite ironic, the movement of getting off your phone and the lengths to which we're going to try and do that.
Well, what's your first impression of these analog bags?
I think way back in season 1 of our podcast, we talked about the ADHD graveyard. And I think a lot of these hobbies and things are kind of coming back to an age where that's all I would do rather than scroll on my phone and do different things. So I think it's a fun way to kind of reconnect and kind of slow things down. I think everything on our phone is just so fast paced. I think it's a fun trend and definitely something that we should be talking about here on the podcast.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think it definitely aligns with all of the things that we love and all the things that we aim to do. I think the idea of having just something super accessible and visual for you to walk by, that's really going to help with ADHD because it's not just this concept of analog things. It's you walk by this bucket and it's got so many fun things that grab your attention, and then you might actually do one of them.
And I think there's so much self-exploration that can come out of this. I think finding new hobbies, new things, and like I said, kind of reigniting a passion of, wow, I used to love doing this thing. Why did I stop? Oh, wait, it's because I got a phone. And that's all people have been doing. Even the name of it is kind of fun, calling it analog. I was even just thinking about digital clocks versus analog clocks and just how it usually takes more time to read an analog clock and thinking about how many digital clocks I have in my life versus analog. I don't think kids know how to tell time anymore. I think if you showed an analog clock, are they teaching that? And I don't know. I was thinking about things that take time, thinking about last episode we talked about friction maxing, and I don't know, there's little things that I do. I think my watch is analog clock, which I think it looks better. And I'm like, okay, I can tell time. I can figure this out. Even just handwriting things out, notes. I have to, I think I'm much more of a physical note taker than a digital note taker. I don't know. I got really into the origin when thinking about the analog bag. So maybe digital bags will become a trend in a few years.
You think that people are going to go back to digital after too much analog?
Yeah. They're going to be like, what are we doing? Everything. iPads. People, DVD players. I don't know.
I feel like DVD players at this point goes in the analog bag more than it goes in the digital bag.
That is true. That is true. I guess put your Amazon Fire Stick. I don't know. But taking time to do things is, I guess, the spirit of analog bags. So, not in the spirit of being analog, but I was kind of deep diving on TikTok and Substack about these analog bags. And the public perception is pretty split, if you can imagine. Like we talked about, I think a lot of people are upset about how ironic it is that influencers that we're watching digitally are telling us to get off our phone, but they're also content creators, and that's their whole platform. And we kind of get in this weird loop of why is everyone posting online about how offline they are?
Yeah, it's funny because I sent our podcast to my therapist because she just likes to see what I'm doing. And
I
she
love that.
mentioned to me how ironic it was that we did a podcast episode about going offline, about the digital detox. But in order for people to listen to it, they have to be online. And the more that I see about how to make content and how to make it engaging, it's almost directly opposed to the values of this podcast. But at the same
Mm-hmm.
time, we want to get people engaged. Like, I have started getting so many Instagram reels and TikToks about like what to do in the first couple seconds of the video to grab the viewer's attention. But if this is supposed to be a podcast about taking things slow, being intentional about growth, does it make sense to use those tactics to get our audience invested? But we won't have an audience in the first place if we don't get people to watch our
Yeah.
videos. So it's just a very weird line to walk,
Mm-hmm.
being content creators that want to also promote healthy lifestyles and growth.
Even like the creator, Cease Campbell, she was talking about people were like, well, how are you a content creator if your screen time's so low? Like, shouldn't you be like consuming things, or wouldn't you have a higher screen time if this is what you're doing? And she kind of talked about like she has the brick and these other tools to help limit that. But even like you said, on our episode all about getting off your phone, I was still kind of just dumbfounded. Like, why do we need all of these apps and this physical thing? Why can't we just turn off our phones and like let that be? And I think it all goes to the society that we're ingrained in. Like, we're almost taking advantage of the trends of social media to promote these off social media lifestyles, because how else are we going to tell people in 2026 to do these things?
Right. Like
It's,
that's how you get information out. I
yeah.
think the other part of this is lots of people can make analog bags, but how frequently do we think they're actually being used? Like, do we
Hmm.
think that the actions are actually matching up with what people are saying online, or is it just talk?
And that was a lot people were talking about. They were saying, okay, you're going to make it and kind of just be like performative and have this bag, or are you actually going to use it? Because the whole point is to shift the habit. Instead of reaching for your phone, you're reaching into the bag and you're grabbing something to do. But if you don't have that discipline and you're not wanting to detach from your phone, it's never going to work. So I guess people are putting a lot of puzzles in their analog bags. And someone said, like, if I see you pull out a puzzle in a coffee shop and set up all of your things, I'm going to lose it. People are so anti these analog bags. And I just kept like reading all of these comments, and people were saying that we are appropriating crafty girl and grandma culture, and that we're gentrifying hobbies by having these analog bags.
Interesting.
I know.
I think maybe those are misplaced words because the gentrification of something
Yeah,
involves the displacement of marginalized people. And I don't think that people creating analog bags, I don't think it prevents anyone from enjoying the hobbies that have already been enjoying.
true.
Like, unless it's driving up the prices of analog things.
That, and that's the next thing on my list.
Is that what's happening? Are prices of
I
analog things going up?
Kind of. I think if you think about physical media, like streaming, huge, big, but people are, buying physical CDs and vinyls and wanting to have physical books. And I guess because of that, physical media is increasing in price. And I think a lot of the people were mad about was people like doing these analog bag hauls and going out and buying things. which I think is the nice
Yeah.
thing is like everything I have already owned. I've owned for a while. There's nothing I bought to add to my bag. So I think it's kind of with overconsumption culture and this trend culture
Mhm.
of, oh, let me go buy XYZ thing to put in my bag to either, like you said, not use or use for a video and then put it away.
Well, I guess I didn't realize that people would go out and buy a bunch of things.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes sense. I stand corrected. I think people are gentrifying analog stuff because that makes
Yeah.
sense. If all the prices are getting driven up and if people are buying stuff like going to Goodwill and buying stuff and taking
Mm-hmm.
it away from someone who could have actually enjoyed whatever it
Yeah.
is they're buying, that's pretty
Mm-hmm.
messed up.
It's pretty messed up. Yeah. And I think that's the difference of like people were saying like just collecting things over time. They were like, "Oh, I didn't like that." I said like I didn't know that was an issue because all the things I have, I just assumed we were just finding things in the house and making it into a convenient location. But yeah, that was not the case. And I'm all for people, I think, finding new hobbies and, oh, let me get a thing to add to my bag. But people are buying very specific bags, I think, that have certain like compartments, and then they're buying the latest thing to add to the bag. And I think that does take away from it a bit and kind of is why it's a trend on social media. If you see something, you're just going to do it better and then post about it. And I do think that's where people are kind of getting this misconception of what the analog bag is and what it's supposed to be doing.
Right. It just goes back to overconsumption, which we did
Mm-hmm.
talk about in our decluttering episode,
Mm-hmm.
that overconsumption is just so bad and has so many negative effects on us, on individuals, on society as a whole. So it all just comes back to that at some point.
Exactly. And I like, literally in our very, very first episode, when we talked about all the things that we're doing, one of the things is making everything that we're doing accessible to people. We don't want people to have to go out and buy the latest trend to participate in the things that we're talking about because again, analog bag. Find the hobbies that you like that you already have and like reinvest in them with like time and energy, not with money. Or, do push-ups or learn a new skill. Like a lot of these things that we're saying aren't go spend money.
How do you put a push up in an analog bag?
I and maybe I do have a push-up in my analog. I think the more I kept thinking about the analog bag, the more I said it's really a mindset. And I think that's what it all goes back to ultimately.
Analog is a mindset,
Analog
not
is a
a
mindset.
bag.
Yeah, I think some of the things I want to put in my bag, like they know no bounds of a bag. They are beyond and they can't. Yeah, I was literally talking with one of my coworkers about this, and I was like, I think I need an analog wagon, and like,
Yeah, so true.
but then now we just have so much stuff. So, I mean, going into your bag, what were things? And I know that you don't actually have a bag, so it's
Yeah,
kind of
I
perfect.
I found like a bucket, like a box, and I thought that would just make more sense
Hmm.
because with a bag, if it's closed and I can't see what's in it, I'm gonna be like, I don't want to look in there. It's boring.
Yeah,
But if I can walk past the bucket, like what is it? A
basket,
container basket,
basket,
my
analog
analog
basket.
basket, then I can like see stuff in there and I'll be enticed.
Hmm.
So the first thing that I have on there is for our audio listeners. There's a white circle that says brick on it, and that is an NFC tag. So I put on there my homemade brick, and I made it using an NFC tag and the Focus app, Focus with a Q. You'll never guess where. And um, so that way, if I need to unbrick my phone, I have to go to my analog basket and maybe I'll get distracted by something in the basket and be like, I actually don't need to go on my phone. I'll do something in the basket. So that is measure number one
It is
for
good.
using the analog basket. So I guess I'll just start with I had some fidgets in here because I was
Mm.
like, maybe I'm reaching for my phone just because I need to keep my hands busy. So I found this not looking for stuff to put in my analog bag, but just was like, this screams analog to me, even though there's obviously no digital version of this. What I have in my hands is a silly putty egg.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I can
And
smell that from here.
maybe exactly. And maybe I'm getting analog and like Y2K like just
Yeah.
mixed up in my brain. But silly putty, just like I used to have fun with this for hours.
Yeah. That's amazing. I feel like I have something similar in my
You have
bag.
silly putty?
I don't have silly putty. But in my big bag of things, I have a friendship bracelet, which again, there's no digital version of this, but for the same vein of doing something with my hands.
The other like fidget that I had, which I have to make a disclaimer, I bought before things got crazy. I talk about overconsumption and like insanity. I do have a Nito in here, but I bought this 2 years ago. No one even cared. I literally bought like 20 of them to give as like prizes for my students. And right now Nitos are a hot commodity and they're like $20 each. But
are Nitos the digital silly putty?
I think so. Nito is the antithesis to silly putty. So 2 things to keep my hands busy if I'm just watching TV or something, which I guess is a digital activity, but I trying to get off my phone,
Yeah. No, that's so good. Well, something I have in mind, I mean, in the same vein, I put my Rubik's Cube in my bag.
Oh, nice.
And also my mirror cube. Have you ever seen my mirror cube before?
No, what is it?
So these are exactly the same thing. And I know you're like, no, they're not. But if you've never seen a mirror cube, basically it is removing all of the colors of the Rubik's Cube with shapes and sizes. So after this is done, it is all flat, similar to this, but all the shapes are different.
I can't comprehend what I'm looking at. Like,
yeah.
It's got like squares jutting, like it's not a flat square.
Not yet.
It's so.
I mean, it would take me way too long to solve it, but you're on the right path when things are flat. So this one requires more brain power because you have to think beyond the colors that are on the Rubik's Cube, but they are solved the exact same way, which is why I love this one. This one is very fun.
So interesting.
It moves very fun, but I'll have to show it to you when I solve it later. But Rubik's Cube is something I learned how to solve in freshman in college, and I have a lot of them now, but these ones I know how to solve, so they don't frustrate me as much, but they keep my mind occupied. So, Rubik's Cube.
That's great. Next, I have playing cards. And
twins!
Oh my gosh, what are you using your playing cards for?
Well, mine is mainly to play Rummy and Speed. I think those are my 2 games of choice.
Okay, nice.
What are you not using yours to play cards?
I was not going to use it to play cards because
this is good. Okay.
I guess also, is this to do with other people? I guess it could be. I kind of forgot about solitaire as a concept, but the main reason why I put cards in my analog basket was I want to develop my intuition a little bit better, and is something that you can practice. It's a muscle. So you can practice with playing cards. So there's different levels to it. Basic level of doing this is try to use your intuition to guess if it is red or black, and then you can kind of move on to guessing the suit, and then trying to see if you can guess the specific card. So just using your intuition, trying to develop that. So I want to practice that, and also just practice shuffling.
I love shuffling.
I think that's just like a good passive thing to do, is just like practice shuffling cards. So that was my main thing.
I like that we both have cases for them. I think that's fun.
That is fun. Very nice playing cards.
Wow. That's so fun. We both have the same thing, but for different things. That's amazing. Uh, well, let's see what else I got in here. Oh, I guess in the same vein. And I was thinking community things too, but I put Phase 10 in here. This is a long game if you've never played Phase 10. So you'll be occupied for a while. But I don't think you can play by yourself. No, you cannot. 2 to 6 players. So that one would require an additional analog friend.
You need an analog friend. Well, and with that, it's like, I get what you mean about needing an analog wagon or just, analog
Yeah,
being a mindset because,
it
like,
is.
what are people going to come over and you're going to be like, let's look in the analog bag? Like, it's just not
Yeah.
convenient to do that.
But hey,
But
people are having like no phone parties or like no phone dinners. I think it could be like if you in the theme of hosting, I think it's hey, coming over for a no scroll Sunday social. Pick something off the analog bag.
no scroll
But
Sunday social.
yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. This Sunday. Um, but I think like I was thinking, and no tangent, but people have like analog trunks or like digital trunks or just like again, they're just having their summer trunk ready with like a swimsuit, hiking boots, their hammock, a frisbee, like things like wherever they're at, they can always like they have something to do. And I think I like made a list of things I would put if I wasn't limited to a bag because I think there are other things that you can do if you're not just like sitting in your living room or in a coffee shop or something. I don't think I'm taking this big heavy bag anywhere.
Yeah,
Like I
right.
just plop your basket down in a park. I don't know. You could, but I don't think that was my main plan. But
Yeah. No, I agree with you. Well, something that I put in here that I just put in here symbolically because I don't keep this in this basket
mhm.
was my piano book. I
Oh,
have that Carissa actually gave me for Christmas one year, a
aw.
Lord melodrama piano book.
Mhm.
And I own a keyboard and I really do not remember much from my lessons. So I need to work my way through this book and learn some songs. So I just put it in here to remind myself that it's an option, but really I like to keep this book on the piano because it's pretty there.
Mhm. Yeah. I like when I was thinking of things, I also thought about my piano and my ukulele. Obviously, a piano's not fitting in the bag, but I think that's just like a thing to remember that you like to do and that you want to get better at. So I think those are allowed. And I also was thinking, I'm like, well, my piano's digital. I was like, okay, that's not the point. You can't scroll on a piano, and I think that's the point.
Yeah.
So,
That's
um,
funny. I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
yeah, I was like, I'll go find a grand piano somewhere
Grand
and play
piano
it
only.
only. Yeah. So, but that is very fun. Like with that, like I put my Kindle in my bag because like I'm using this to read. Like it is not like an iPad converted to Kindle. Like so even though this is a digital device, I was like it is a like a single purpose device rather than something I can like, swipe away from and then start doing something else. So I threw that in here. But again,
I
it's not going to stay in the bag.
I totally forgot to put my book in here. I
Oh,
just forgot to grab it. But I do have a couple physical books that I have um that have been wanting to read. So those are going in the bag. I
mm-hmm.
have next on my list is Behind the Mirror
Mm,
by Taron Armstrong for any Big Brother fans out there. I'm trying to read it before Big Brother starts on July 9th.
okay.
So putting that in the basket so I can remember to read it.
Nice. Yeah, I also have my book club book, which is Book Lovers by Emily Henry. Shout out book club. Um, but again, this is like kind of like if I'm like my everyday analog bag, like I'm throwing my like these two things in my cards are usually in like every throwing it in a random tote bag that I'm taking someplace in case I have time to or in case I need cards.
I think this is a pretty common item, but I've got my markers
Mm,
and my coloring book.
wait,
So I
I have
did
more.
unfortunately buy these markers like as I jumped on the bandwagon with everyone. I didn't buy it for this, but I mean I bought it like a year and a half ago. Um And I just haven't been using them very often, like I thought I was
Mhm.
going to. So in the basket it goes so that I can remember to use them.
What brand are they? Do you know?
Oh, it's just the Target, like,
Oh,
what is
okay.
it? Mondo Llama,
Oh,
whatever. The,
sure.
you know the
Yeah.
Target brand.
Yeah. I don't. Yeah. Mine are. I do not know. They are Cali art. But I did almost buy the Hoo markers, but I could
Ooh.
not. I knew I couldn't do that. But yes, in the same vein, I actually used these for the first time this past weekend. My friend got me one of the Coco Wyo Cozy Friends coloring books.
Oh, cute.
So we actually had a coloring night and we watched Toy Story in preparation for the new movie coming out. So we should just host a coloring night and then you can use your markers and color. So
You're right. I'll do that.
but actually, both of these things were gifted to me by friends, which I think is really fun in the spirit of like not, I didn't buy them. So, in the spirit of giving, it's
In
fun
the
having
spirit of
things that.
giving and underconsumption.
Yeah. Yeah. What else you got?
Okay, this one's you stay with me here. Okay.
Okay.
So I have this is just the box it came in. And I don't know if I can actually show the physical item. Um are you familiar with owl pellets?
Yes,
You know
kind
what
of.
an owl pellet is?
Like I dissected one in high school. Is that what we're talking
Exactly,
about?
like those.
Okay.
I looked up the definition online just because I wanted to be precise with the science. An owl pellet is a regurgitated mass of indigestible prey remains such as bones, fur, feathers, and teeth. So, for those of you who don't know about owls, basically, it's not poop. It is not poop.
And I
It
thought it was,
is.
so I'm glad you're clearing this up.
Yeah, not poop.
No.
They basically, it's kind of like a hairball that cats have,
Okay.
but like owls. So they have like a little hairball, but sometimes their hairball has like bones and teeth and feathers, you know?
Yeah.
So I ordered like probably like 2 years ago at this point, owl pellets online from Etsy, and they're wrapped in tinfoil, and I just have not gotten around to dissecting them. And I think that's a really good analog activity, don't you think?
I
Just
yeah.
me, a pair of tweezers, owl pellets.
Make sure you wear a mask. That's
Really?
important. Yeah, I think thinking back to sophomore year, I got a lot it's not a thing where you want things to fly and then now you're like, do I have owl pellets in my mouth?
Yeah, that's so true.
So maybe some safety glasses, like a mask, gloves, really
Gloves.
get in there.
Add some
Yeah.
gloves to my analog bag.
I'm gonna need you to record this.
Yeah,
Thank you for
it's
prefacing to stay with
oh,
you
it does.
because
There are instructions in here. It says
oh, good.
place owl pellet on a disposable surface, put on gloves,
Oh, good.
carefully pull apart with tweezers and wooden stick. Oh, did they give me? I bought them and then just like never had the time to do it. There might even be tweezers and stuff in here. I don't know. I
The
can't remember.
concept
This
of this
might
the concept of
what?
this being in your Etsy order history is just I love this.
There's lots of things in my Etsy order history.
This is
Owl
amazing.
pellets, curses from Etsy witches. It just you can get anything on Etsy. Okay, well, that's
I unfortunately don't have anything similar to owl pellets in my bag.
you can't
Can't top owl pellets. That's unfortunate. But I have a Kindoodle that I bought last year. Have you seen one? Like, so they are the different
Oh, the
shapes.
canoodle.
Canoodle.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, I put a D in there. Kindoodle. The canoodle. Yeah, one of my friends had one, and I said, I want one. If you don't know what this is, it's like a puzzle game where the book tells you different levels of way you set up the puzzle, and the goal is just to fit the remaining pieces back in in the obviously specific order, and usually one order that it can go in. I also found there's a website for this where you can like place things and it'll tell you if it's solvable or not, which is really fun. So some people just
Oh,
put
that's
one in and
cool.
they shake it and they put a few in, shake it and see where they end up and then see if they can solve it. But someone made a website to see like, are you wasting your time or can you actually solve this? So this is just it's a fun plane thing. I think, honestly, we should be calling these like airplane mode bags, honestly.
Oh, okay.
New
I like
trend
that
starting.
because you're right. Because it's not about digital versus analog because like you mentioned, like a keyboard is digital
Yeah,
or
a
like a
Kindle is
Kindle
digital.
is digital.
Mm-hmm.
But if we're just trying to get off of our phones in airplane mode,
Yeah,
that's
it's the OG brick, honestly.
yeah.
And it's free, which is nothing against the actual brick, but
I have stuff against the actual brick. Why is
yeah,
it $60?
listen to our episode on all of that. But yeah, I guess speaking in the same vein, I do have my digital camera in here. Speaking of things that are really expensive, I mean, this is from 2009 when I thought I was going to be a YouTuber. So like this was like a Christmas present way from forever ago. And people are selling just digital cameras for like hundreds of dollars. And I'm like, I mean, I don't know how much this is, but surely, hopefully someone didn't spend that much money for like a child. But I think like even just basic ones, like you should be able to get like at the thrift store or something for maybe like $20. People are spending like $200. And I'm like, why?
Yeah,
So
that's one of those overconsumption things again, where now they're mass producing these like cheap digital cameras just because like people will buy them and it's become a
yeah.
trend. And
Yeah. Do you remember our digital camera story from the Lord concert?
yes, I do. Oh my gosh. Where we were at the Lord concert. We were in Milwaukee, if anyone else was there, and these like high schoolers turn to us and are like, "Can you take our picture?" And they handed it to you, Carissa, right?
Yeah, I took the picture. But she hands it to me and she's like, you just push the button on the top. Girl, I know. I was like, I just don't like. Obviously, I assume that they realized that people had digital cameras before they had camera phones. But the fact that she didn't do it in like a mean way, but I was taken aback. She's like, you just push the big camera on the back. You have to hold it for a second. Yeah, I got it. But she was super nice.
Maybe she
she took a
just
photo
thought
for
we were hip and young like her. Maybe she thought we
hip
were in
and
high
young and
school.
cool. Yeah. And the funny thing about it is she took a photo of us with her camera and then sent it to us on Instagram.
No, she sent us on Snapchat of all
Snapchat.
things.
Oh my gosh.
And I was genuinely confused. I was like, how did you get on your phone so quickly? I was like, how
Yeah.
did you hook it up to your laptop and then transfer it over to your phone
Yeah,
here
and
at the
use your
Lord concert?
your SD card reader. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
she
didn't realize
added you on Snapchat.
that moment was when it occurred to me that you could get an SD card reader connected to your phone. It just never
Yeah.
occurred to me.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I felt old because I was like, where's your laptop adapter and your yeah, she didn't need all of that. So yeah, digital camera. I don't use it a whole lot just because I think I usually just have my phone in my hand, and it's also not the best quality camera again because it was made probably 20 years ago at this point. Jeez. But yeah, I still think it's fun to have and to use, and it's small. I think that's the other thing is like it is a small thing you can just throw in a bag. But
yeah, it's not super convenient to carry around. Like,
no.
I remember walking around with my iPod Touch and my digital camera everywhere.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have a phone, but I had an iPod Touch.
I mean, even before that. Yeah. Like I had a flip phone, iPod Touch, probably a digital camera or like disposable camera or something. Maybe a book. Analog bags really go way back.
You just can't
So,
travel light if you want to go
no.
analog, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, you need all your single purpose items. But um yeah. One other thing, I mean, I have a few more things left in my bag, but one of them's just my journal. Um I like, and people were really mad about this online, but I have a few journals, but I mainly have like two journals. People were like, why do people have more than one journal? But this is like my podcast slash learning journal, and this is just my brain dump journal. But I try to just keep this in my bag wherever I go in case I feel like jotting things down. Um, but yeah, so I think these usually go wherever I go.
Yeah. Last thing I have in here is diamond painting. Again, like this is
Mm.
basically like you said, ADHD graveyard
Yeah.
bucket more than analog bag.
Yeah.
Because I started this with my fiance and we just never finished. So, just a good reminder that I can finish this and not
Yeah.
take on any new hobbies.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, I have my like watercolor set. Um so I have that, and then my grandma actually got me, and this one I do think she bought it from TikTok, but that's okay. Have you seen like the mini watercolor sets?
Oh,
So
yes.
it's like it's supposed to be small and compact. So I thought it was kind of perfect for if I like were to do like an actual like small thing, because everything kind of folds in here and then you have all your stuff. But this doesn't include the paint and the marker. And I think a lot of things. This is kind of has everything. So I have that. I have this puzzle book that I think I got forever ago that I did not buy. I do not know how I have this. But at my parents' house, I have all of my old Sudoku books. Um, and I love those. And I should probably do this. So this has just a whole bunch of brain teasers, word puzzles, some of these that will probably like frustrate me. But I think that's important to think outside the box sometimes. So I put that in there. And then the last thing is just my hammock. I think you could do any of these things with a hammock, but I think that was just, this is usually like my hammock bag. I actually got this, I don't know, this is from a drink company, St. James, free, and it's the biggest tote bag I have. So a lot of these things, again, I didn't care about a fancy bag with compartments. I was just like, yeah, what's big and can hold all of this stuff that I think that I want to have at any given moment. So yeah, that's the bags.
You know, having this conversation and going through our bags, I think I have become more anti analog bag
Analog bag.
because just like the more that I'm thinking about it, I do like an airplane mode bag. I think that's good because
Mm-hmm.
I was even thinking like, what if I put my Nintendo Switch in it? Because as sad as it is to say, sometimes I feel like I'm not even playing video games that I want to play because I'm on my phone or just not
Mm-hmm.
remembering that that is a hobby that I have. But then at the same time, I'm not going to keep my Nintendo Switch in a bag. Like I'm going to keep it where it
Where it
belongs.
goes.
So like
Yeah.
the more that we talk about things, the more I'm against the idea of it being analog, like it's just be airplane mode. And also, I don't like the restriction of a bag.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I was even thinking about using like a cart, because I think it goes back to the ADHD thing, like why you have a basket and not a bag that you can't see through, is I need something I can see, or that's like on an open bookshelf, or people have like cabinets that are just like all of these things, or I think it's the passing by, oh, cool, I want to do these things. I think like having your DIY brick is also a good reminder to have that right next to it, because a lot of these things are just things that we already like to do. Like I thought about putting my Nintendo DS in here because
Yeah.
I have that. I thought about buying a Switch so many times, and I was like, you should use your Wii and your like your
Yeah.
DS, things you already have. I can just play with my friends on their Switches. But I do think it's like you said, you forget that you like to play your Switch because you're on your phone. And not to like go back to trends, but the like dopamine menu that people were thinking,
Mm-hmm.
like sitting down thinking about what they like to do. I like did something similar before, I think, not to say I was pre-dopamine menu, but I called it like a self-care cheat sheet.
Mm-hmm.
It's something I learned about in college when I was an orientation leader. We essentially, like before the summer got super busy, we were told to think of things that we could do in like given time frames. So if you had a full weekend to like recoup, what are you doing? What are you using that time for? And jot down some things. If you have 24 hours, if you had an hour, if you had 15 minutes, if you had 5 minutes, if you had 30 seconds, like what is that one thing or a few things you're going to do? And obviously, like the smaller like time frames, I was like, take a deep breath, take a sip of water, 5 minutes. Maybe I'll call my mom. Longer things you can like plan, like, okay, I'm going to watch a movie or I'm going to get away. And that's something I still do. And I do with people I work with because I'm like, sometimes we get so into life that you forget about the things you like to do. And just by creating things or having a bag or having something, you're like, oh, wait, here are all the hobbies and things I like to do. I don't need to constantly consume media on Instagram or TikTok or find someone else's hobby that I should do. It's like, here are the things I like to do. And I think it's fun. Like, if I were to do this again or something, I think like starting with the self care cheat sheet of like, because some of these things are just taking a walk, listening to a podcast, or watching a movie. And like I said, that's not necessarily analog, but it's a like long form consumption, like watching a 2.5 hour movie versus a 1 minute TikTok and like having conversations with people and community. And it's just like a lot more brain stimulation than doom scrolling or rotting in bed. Those things don't have the same positive connotation.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's not just being analog for the sake of being analog. It's what is going to genuinely make a positive impact on your life and get you
Mm-hmm.
to the end goal. So, like your Kindle, right? Like, even though that
Yeah.
isn't completely analog, right? That's digital.
Mm-hmm.
Does it make sense for you to go get a bunch of books, or does it just make sense for you to read the books that you have on your Kindle, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so many comments and things talked about library cards that we talked about in our bucket list and just some of those items. It's like, okay, how are we going to get back to having fun and enjoying, like not letting these moments pass us by? And I just think it's a good reminder. And I think the bag is also a good reminder, whether it's a bag or a basket or a shelf of things. I do think there are ways to, I guess, just switch the mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And it's your bag, There are no rules at the end of the day. It doesn't have to fit in a bag or a wagon or a trunk. It can be really whatever. But I think, yeah, people you don't need to be performative and buy a whole bunch of things you're not going to use. I think it's just, what do you actually want to be doing when you reach for your phone? Maybe that's silly putty.
But I do think doing this has reminded me of some things that I have been wanting to do. And I guess we'll see if we end up reaching for these bags throughout the
Yeah.
summer and if it's effective, if there's things that we would add, or maybe things that we don't want in there that's just taking up space, maybe
Hmm.
things that I need to throw out because they're not getting used, right? Um,
Yeah. Yeah, some hobbies do have to die at the end of the day. But you can repurpose them, give them to someone else,
mhm,
spread the joy.
mhm.
Well, thanks for listening to today's episode of Brainworms and Tangents. If you enjoyed listening, be sure to follow us on Substack, where you'll get newsletters every time we release a new video. And follow us on Instagram and TikTok if you want, but you don't have to. Make your own analog bag and tune in next Wednesday for our next episode. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.